I'm Åsa Caap. I'm the CEO and founder of OurVodka. But the whole idea of OurVodka is to build something global that is still really relevant in a local context. So OurVodka is built, we make the whole capital investment, we build the distilleries, we share all our knowledge, but then we make partnerships in each city with local entrepreneurs who run the distilleries for us. And then we share profit with them. As an innovation director for Absolut, it's a fantastic job because you get exposed to, we work with the best trend forecasters there is, and you get exposed to everything there is. So it's like a candy store for somebody like me. But there was a lot of, back then, 6 years ago, there was, a big chunk of that trend work was all about the craft movement, which is here now, so it feels weird talking about it like this, but it was all about the local movement, the craft movement, and that it was, coming on strong. There's a lot of local brands, and the craft movement is huge, especially in the US, but there's nothing that's interconnected globally. And I feel that's how people are nowadays. You're very local in a way that, because the globe has become so accessible, so everybody's global. Through social media and all of this, you have access to the whole world. You can travel without travel, and people have friends all over, which makes you more careful about your local surrounding and your localness too. So we become more of both. But there was no brand really who reflected this, and then I got obsessed by the fact that there was no one doing this. Yeah. So then I couldn't get rid of it. So I started it. I showed it to my boss, and she was like, "This is a great idea, but we can't. It's not applicable on Absolut." And we didn't have it wasn't included in my role to develop new brands. I started working on it on my free time. And I presented it to two other entrepreneurs, or a few others actually. And they got so excited. They were as excited as I was. So then, of course, if you have a baby and people say, "Oh, it's so pretty," you're like, "Oh, you come join me." So we did it from my house on our free time. I had no money to pay them, but it was just the joy of. The feeling when you found like a treasure, you got to go and find it. You find this treasure map. That's how it felt. So we just we couldn't let it go. It was just passion driven completely. Usually local businesses don't have global ambitions. So it's usually the global players who come in with this, we're going to make something out of this trend. But they also only have the global perspective, and it's more, we make this here and then we implement the same thing everywhere, which is also traditional global brand building. You're supposed to perceive the brand the same way wherever you meet them. Yeah. But here we wanted to do something differently, but it was extremely controversial and hard, because if you want to do it for real, like we do with OurVodka, you have to work with local people and make them part of the thing. We have 6 distilleries up and running right now, and we have 3 more that we're building right now. So the ones that we have is Berlin, Amsterdam, and London, Detroit, Seattle, and Los Angeles, and we're working on New York, Miami, and Houston. If it wasn't for Pernod Ricard, I would never have been exposed to all this trend material and everything. And we had investors who were willing to invest in OurVodka, but I felt that it was, the right thing to do, to give them a fair chance. Before I didn't expect it to take them 2 years. I had to convince them for 2 years. But it's a complex thing. Building distilleries is not something you just learn over a night. And also all the legal aspects around alcohol has always been complicated. So there's a lot of benefits also of having, of course, of having access to this. We wanted to stay away from the typical craft cities because I usually speak of this trend as the craft trend and the local trend. Most people see it as one and it goes under craft, but craft also comes with the whole hipster culture, farm to table, tarred ropes and leather aprons and bearded men and so forth. And we're not necessarily that. It's done and it's done really well. And they're in Brooklyn, they're in Austin, they're in Portland, and we decided that we would avoid these places immediately because we wouldn't fit in. We would not be good enough. We would not be local enough or crafty enough. And our bottle, our brand, and our whole approach is more urban and more rock and roll, and not so. So again, even there, we wanted to do something different and differentiate us from that. So that was also part of the mix when we choose the city. We're looking for entrepreneurs. They have to have a track record of being successful entrepreneurs. They have to be. We would like them to be from the city, because again, if you want to raise a Londoner, it's good if you're a Londoner yourself. We also want them to be nice people. And when I remember when I presented this internally, they were like, "Come on, like seriously, is that one of your criteria? This is not professional." But we had one of our number one criteria was that we could see ourselves spending holidays with them, and it helped. It has helped us a lot, because then you share the same values. You like working together. You're not forced to work together. If you want to break new ground, if you're after the big win, or you want to distance yourself to your competition, I think sometimes you have to dare to take another path. So when the start in the Dakar Rally goes, most of them go this way, but there's also a few that goes like completely in another direction on their own to the unknown. And very few of these guys reach the finish line, but when they do, they're weeks ahead of their competition. So I see this a little bit like this: when you do a challenger project, or it's scary. Usually they expect that you tell them exactly what's going to happen. If you come back and say, "Well, so the last quarter we did this," it's like, "What do you mean? You said you were going to do this, this, and this, and now you tell me you did this, this, and this. I want to know how this, this, and this went." And then I can't tell them because there was no lake there, or there was no rock there, or there was no sand there. There was not even a road there. We had to take another path. So that has been tricky. If I would do it all over again, and I think actually my investors agree that we would have maybe pulled out OurVodka earlier, like be more on the side of the rest of Pernod Ricard. But this we didn't know back then. So, but here we try to be a little bit both, and that's always harder because people don't really know what we are. Are we in? Are we out? Are we, So I always think that, in life in general, like either or is always better, because then you know. But given that we're inside here with all the benefits that it also brings to us, having our own corner here and making it really ours has been, crucial for the identity, for our, us sticking together here and being, the outsiders on the inside. Or there's no marketing really with OurVodka, I guess, or the whole thing is marketing, because we build the brand and the story as we go along. So it's more story. I think somebody said story doing at one point. I think this is really what we're doing. So what people get interested in is exactly, how it works, why the partners are involved, that they are real people from Detroit, that I built this together with my co-founders on our free time from my living room, that we believed in this, that there's other family members with different backgrounds in other cities that are connected, and that it's for real, I think.